build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Oh, well, they gave me balls, but I can see between to a dusty yard and long gone green. We call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I drown my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as a judge.
Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers. This is episode 71. I'm Matty. I'm joined tonight by Brian. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm not bad, thank you. I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Wasn't expecting quite a cheery response there, but it's nice to see. John, got you as well. How are you doing?
I am really good. Really good.
I was just before we came on, I was having a wee look on Twitter, and you know how you have some people in life that can't see a tweet without responding with like abuse or something fucking nasty on the back of it or whatever. Well,
Is that not most of my tweets to you?
Well, that goes without saying. It's kind of expected, but it was Nicola Sturgeon had tweeted a picture of the skyline over what I assume was her house from Glasgow this morning. It said like sunrise over Glasgow, and the first tweet that I could see underneath it just said Glasgow's a shithole. Oh, brilliant! I never really see the point in tweets like that, but I did appreciate it. To be fair. Glasgow's a shithole. Actual factual as well. Speaking of Glasgow, we'll be covering a wee bit about Glasgow and our Hampden trip on Saturday later on in the podcast. But we'll start off with the Killie game. So, John, you watched it in Gaelic. How did you enjoy that experience?
It was far better than listening to anything Chris Boyd has ever had to say in his puff, and I couldn't understand a word of it.
That's a fair point, to be honest with you. I listened to the Killie commentator, so I tried to get it on the Hibs commentary, but it kept buffering all the time, so I switched over to excuse me. That's a good start if I'm coughing already. Switched over to the Killie commentators, and my word, they did not like that referee. They did not like him one little bit. So every single time they lost the ball was the referee's fault. That's got to be a foul. Everything. In fact, there's one point where it was Burke ran the ball out, and it was a good few inches over the line, and they were incredulous that it had been given as a goal kick. It was
I think I know the one you mean. Have any of you guys? I don't know what position the boy holds at Tynecastle, but did the referee's hairline though remind you of the boy? He's like director of communications or something. I'll need to see if I can dig a picture. Do you know the boy I mean?
I don't know his name though, but
Aye. It has to go, doesn't it?
I mean, how did it end up there in the first place? That's a weird quirk of biology.
I think he just starts brushing for the arse hair up. See how far he can just up and over.
It's like an inverse ponytail. They're talking to referees and the hairlines. Did you see the story on Twitter earlier on about I think it was Inverness was the game, and you know how the lower are using tracking software to kind of follow the ball, so they don't have a cameraman. And we had it in the game that Brora or Cove when we were playing our Forfar or whoever it was, and it was a bit disconcerting at sometimes. But this game they actually missed the goal because the near side linesman was bald, and the tracking software kept following his head instead of the ball. They had to apologise for it.
Oh man, brilliant.
Do you think it's difficult being a cameraman? Like, do you think it's better to have a bit of software written that follows a ball?
Well, if it follows the ball with no linesman's head, I could have never got the attention span for it. I'd be away, kind of,
I'd be going for a pie.
I see what things I could see far away in that. Oh, look at it, zoom on this, I can see miles away. Like,
do you reckon you'd be the cameraman in the crowd, Matty, that was always looking for the bird with the nice tits?
Not me. Not me. Right, back to the football. So, Brian, what were your thoughts on the game?
I never had the Gaelic or the Killie. I had the excitable Geordie getting his cock out for a £1 donation. I thought we were deserving of the 3 points. And I don't think I'm being biased with it either. I don't think we were brilliant on Saturday, but I thought we deserved the 3 points. I thought we defended well. I think they had the shot off the line, cleared off the line, and I think Marciano made one save, I think, if I can remember. But I thought we were largely in control. I think midfield we were fairly dominant.
It was a pretty good display, I thought. What about you, John?
About the same. Aye. Obviously, going to these games completely ignorant of the opposition's form, but I looked at it afterwards, and I think Killie had won their last 3 games on the spin.
Yeah,
and
that's
Rugby
right,
Park it's always a tricky place to go to. I think Hibs and Killie, most of their encounters in the last few seasons, they've sort of shared points back and forth, shared victories back and forth. I don't think either team has dominated in particular. But I thought Hibs played really well, and there was maybe a couple of areas of the pitch where we weren't as strong as we maybe would have expected, but then stronger in others. I thought the work rate of Doidge and Nisbet in particular was outstanding.
Yep.
The pair of them were, Nisbet was dropping a lot deeper. He was coming down towards like the sort of halfway line and what have you, but Doidge up front, he just harassed and bullied and created gaps in space, and it was brilliant to see. Maybe like if I was being really, really harsh, my only criticism might have been with that we didn't manage to get a couple more goals, but we did get the win. We had that 1-0 lead and we defended it, and we saw it at the game. We got the 3 points, so all credit to the players for that.
Well, we actually looked more likely to increase the lead than Killie did to equalise, especially as the second half drew on. We had a few really good chances.
Aye. So there was the 2 chances from Newell, one in the first half, that's gone narrowly wide, and then there's the one in the second half as he's jinked through about 3-4 players, and keeper's got a good save on it.
There was a wee spell just around that chance where Newell was just like on a different level from everybody else on the pitch. I mean, his footwork and just spraying passes about and his movement.
Even him and Boyle in the far corner.
Aye.
At the end of the game. It was brilliant.
So that's the thing. I was saying before there that Boyle, one of the areas of the pitch that I thought they were maybe a wee bit quiet was down Martin Boyle's side, but then Martin Boyle had that moment where he's managed to work the ball backwards, and I think Hibs have got a cross and an effort on goal on the back of it. Yeah. So it's not like he was completely anonymous and we're just waiting for that, moment of magic for one of these players. Like, he played his part.
I don't think he copes on that pitch particularly well either, to be honest. I don't think that's not his surface, is it? I've not thought that a plastic pitch has ever really shown itself up to be the thing that people criticise it for, but watching it on Saturday night there, the number of times that players have overran the ball, I was thinking that's a bit bizarre. The injury that the boy Dikamona's got, that looked like it might have been down to the pitch. It was the first time I've kind of watched one of those games and thought, Christ, actually that is having a massive impact on the way that the ball's moving.
I always think with the pitch, it's the bounce. Like, you see the ball coming down, it's a total fucking lottery who's going to win it. Like, unless you can control it first time, and you can see quite often the players are reluctant to try and control it as well, because the ball moves funny once they trap it or whatever.
Yeah.
So they let it bounce, but then the amount of second or sometimes third balls that are then contested with folk jumping for a header because the ball's bounced up that high that it's an aerial battle instead of just getting your body in front of the defender and controlling it or shielding it. It ends up like a headed duel. I don't like it. I think it plays to Livingston or the other team with the plastic pitch where you really notice it, and it plays to their strengths. They can have that ball in the air and coming down and bouncing all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it ruins it as a spectacle. Back to Joe Newell, he was really unlucky not to score. I don't know if you saw Hibs referenced it in a tweet this week. In fact, it might even have been this morning, where Ryan Porteous called out Joe Newell as the best trainer at the club. He sets the tone. It was an article that was in The Athletic with Ryan Porteous, and he was sort of explaining the difference between Hibs under Jack Ross compared to Heckingbottom, and he was using the kind of the cliche about train as you play, and he says they do it now, and it's Joe Newell's the one that is on it every single day, and I was really surprised at that, because when you look at him, you probably didn't think he's that type of player, do you, Brian?
He has got that sort of life and language style about him. You wouldn't imagine he'd be, full pistons on the training pitch, because he's not particularly like that. He's not like a John McGinn type, if you like. It's just all action. But I think Saturday showed him up as the type of footballer he is. He did. That's, I think I said it on Hibs.net, and I think I said it on Twitter. He was just gliding across the pitch at times. It was like Christopher Dean in a Rolls Royce. He was. He looked a level above everybody around him. He seemed to have that extra few seconds that nobody else on the pitch had, and he made good use of it. And what you say, that spell that he had down on the right hand side, he was untouchable.
And John, what do you think stops Joe Newell replicating that form every week?
Joe Newell.
So I was thinking back to what you were saying there about the article in The Athletic, and if you're able to copy and paste it and share it, I wouldn't mind reading it, because it's an interesting comparison between what's happening under Jack Ross and what happened under Paul Heckingbottom, because I remember the game at Carlisle, where I think it was my first glimpse of Joe Newell. We were right down on the touchline, and I think after about somewhere between maybe like 20 minutes and the half-time mark, he and a number of other players were blown at their arse. And I wonder if there's maybe just been a greater emphasis on training and fitness, because I think it's quite apparent that he's a talented footballer, and there's something about a left-footed player, the way that Brian described that sort of like lithe and language style, that's just really, really pleasing to watch. And I don't know whether it's because predominantly footballers are right-footed, whereas when the left footer comes along, they're really quite pleasing to watch. I don't know how to describe it. And Brian's got his hands up there, shades of Dickie. But it is just really, really nice. And I don't think it's a case of we're not seeing that performance from Joe Newell every week. I think that we've seen, from the start of the season to the present day, I think we've definitely seen a progression. I think while the squad has been evolving ever so slightly every week, because we had the greater length of transfer window this year because of various other things going on. We've seen McGuinness come in, we've seen Gogic come in, we've seen Jamie Murphy come in, we've seen players leave. And I think, because I think I talked about it way at the start of the season, where I was saying that Joe Newell and I think it was Gogic, they were both sort of supporting the two fullbacks. And for all the defensive work that Joe Newell was doing, we weren't seeing it when he was going forward. But I think perhaps one of the things now, it might even be down to the opposition and the way that Jack Ross is setting the team up, but I think there's been maybe a wee bit more emphasis for Joe Newell in recent weeks, where he started to get forward more and he started to really express himself and have a wee bit of confidence in what it is that he's doing. And, we all know that a confident player, when you have that ability and that confidence together, it just pays dividends. I know I've said that before, but it does.
That might tie in with, Jack Ross got interviewed at the start of the season when we'd won however many games on the trot, and an interviewer had asked him if there was a danger of the players getting ahead of themselves, and he said it's actually the opposite. They're full of humility and etc. etc. And he said, I don't think they realise actually how good they are. So you need to remind them how good they are. So that might have a part to play in it. Jack Ross or the coaching staff themselves might be reminding him, you have got it. You are good enough. Go and show yourself what you can do. So that might be something to do with it.
I think that's a good shout. The other thing, and it probably got overlooked at the weekend, was the team selection. So having Gogic and Malin in beside him as well. So very different types of midfielders.
Yep.
But I think that gave Kilmarnock something else to worry about. That maybe gave Newell that space to kind of get into, to use the football term, in the wee pockets of space where he was quite hard to pick up. You would just see him, in various different parts of the pitch, but he managed to find himself space, and then when he was able to take the ball in, he could use that space to good effect.
It might have threw Kilmarnock, to be honest, because when I seen the starting 11, my first thought was either Malin or Newell is out on the left.
Yeah.
Whereas it turns out we were pretty much three in the centre, and Boyle as the solitary winger, if you like, the way it looked at times.
It was interesting. And we talk about the balance of the squad. We've mentioned it before. And that's probably where you see it getting put to good use, where you can put somebody like Malin in, have Boyle still acting as a wide player, but when they come back from injury, you've got Murphy and Jay Wright still to come in. The options it gives us across the pitch, so 3 in defence, 4 in defence, wing backs or full backs, how you pack the midfield, however we want to do it, we're pretty well equipped to adapt to different formations, etc. Just now. Talk a wee bit about Jack Ross, because we were having a chat on our WhatsApp as we were kind of looking at what we would talk about in the podcast, and one of the things that came up was his win percentage, because he's had a pretty good record at Hibs, and we mentioned it before, the stat about him having, and I think it's still the case, but the most points since he arrived at Hibs outside any manager other than Rangers and Celtic. So his win percentage is 54.05% at the moment, which is a pretty good record. And if you want to kind of compare it, Lennon was 47.97, and that's with a season in the Championship. Heke was 43.5, and Stubbs is the only one recently that was higher at 58. But again, he had 2 years in the Championship. So you can see obviously Jack Ross is performing well. If you talk about, and it gets kind of mentioned jokingly now, but Lennon being the natural born winner, well, actually Jack Ross is winning more than the natural born winner was.
Yeah. It's easy to forget sometimes after we have a draw or even a defeat. It's a typical, well, it's not just a typical Hibs fans way, it's a typical every fans way.
Football fan, yeah.
You're very quickly going to the doom and gloom and this is shite. But, when you hear a stat like that, a percentage like that, and obviously, I'd imagine it's still the case that since he came in, only Celtic and the Rangers have picked up more points than us, and that's testament to what he's done so far, isn't it?
Aye, it's a funny thing because after we drew with Ross County, there was kind of comments on Twitter about that's why Aberdeen will get third and we won't. But actually, Saturday's result, going away to Kilmarnock, keeping a clean sheet, winning the game, and coming away with the points. Nobody was coming saying that's why we're going to get third and no Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's a really impressive result, and it kind of gets lost, I think, in a bit of the noise around it. But any team going to Kilmarnock is finding it hard to win, but we've gone there, and I thought we won comfortably. What did you think about the penalty decision? Did anybody think it wasn't a penalty?
No, it was a pen for me. I thought it was a pen the first time I saw it, and the replays, having seen it more and more, there's potentially an argument for it being outside the box, but I'm going on what I saw the first time, and so's the referee and the linesman.
Aye.
So for me, it's a pen.
What about you, John?
I'm the same. Like I can't remember exactly what minute it was awarded in, but I'm going to say that at 11:30 on Saturday night, the wife's upstairs sleeping, the dog's curled up next to me sleeping, And as soon as Di Camona sticks the leg out and Doidge goes down, I'm shouting penalty. And I've woken the dug up, the wife's upstairs, neighbours in the street, the lights are coming on, the Dugs are barking, you name it. It was a definite penalty. I've seen stuff afterwards. Di Camona's on Twitter bringing out screenshots as his defence, and I'm thinking, games only played, won or lost in screenshots. They're not played or won, lost in slow motion. It was
take the boy to Gorgie, but
I mean, I think quite often in these situations, the reaction of the player at fault and his teammates are a good indicator. And at the time, no one's reacted. The referee's taken a good look at it, to be fair. He's awarded the penalty, he's dished out the yellow card, and there's no one surrounded him, no one's questioned it. And there might be something to do with, I don't know if there's maybe like some sort of directive coming in for SFA, COVID, didn't surround the referee, didn't be breathing on him, whatever. Don't know, just purely hypothesising there, but no one has batted an eyelid. It's a penalty, Nisbet slotted it away, everyone got on with the game.
It was a nice penalty as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, great penalty. I think Di Camona's reaction, as soon as he gave the pen, he just had that sort of resigned look on his face and put his hands on his head. It wasn't as if he was going batshit mental and shouting at the referee or protesting.
I don't think it was that much different from the penalty that Boyle gave away against Aberdeen. He's just been a bit silly, swung a leg out there when he never needed to, and given away the penalty.
Yep.
It was good play by Doidge as well to win it. If you talk about players winning a penalty, he's kind of just seen the opportunity to nick the ball in front of Di Camona and probably knowing that he's going to get a bit of contact on him.
Yeah. I was saying that to me earlier that I don't think that Doidge is necessarily the fastest player at Easter Road, fastest sprinter or whatever like that, but it comes down to that. It's that half yard that he managed to catch on Di Camona, whether it was a half yard in his head or if it was a half yard on the pitch. He's just got in front of him and he's forced Di Camona to make that mistake, basically.
I think ironically,
he's a far cleverer player than what people think he is. I think because if you look at him, he doesn't even look like a target man to me. I think he's 6'1", but he's not built like a shithouse. He's just got a normal lean build, but it's easy to pigeonhole him that he is just because you see him so dominant in the air, etc., and harassing defenders. It's easy to pigeonhole him as that type of player. Yet he's very, very clever, very clever.
I think. Are you describing, Brian, like that type of player? Are you saying kind of one-dimensional, just the target man, just to try and hold the ball up, whereas Doidge is anything but that?
Aye, and I think for someone that's not, like I say, he's 6'1", he's quite a lean build, and I think he wins probably far more battles than that physique would lend itself to. And because of that, because of the amount of headed goals he scores as well, people probably just see him as that type of one-dimensional target man. Yet he is very, very clever. He picks his runs, he chooses his runs, he drops back when he needs to. I think he holds the ball up very well, and he knows when to release it or when to keep a hold of it. And folk were laughing about the type of goals he was scoring last season when he went off on a scoring spree, but he was in the right place every single time. It didn't matter if it came off his shin, or if he put his laces through, or if it bounced off his arse. He was there where the ball was, and that's no coincidence. That's instinct. That's knowledge.
He's still doing that as well. He's still getting into the good goal scoring positions. I think the goals will come from quite soon.
I think it'll be the same as last season. Once he gets one,
aye,
again, that's it. He'll be off and running again
on Saturday. He gets nothing for referees, Doidge, really.
No.
I don't know if you know. I know the irony in saying that after he won the penalty, but if you look at the amount of times that somebody goes through the back of Doidge, or they go up for headers or whatever, and he gets penalised left, right, and centre, and a lot of the times actually him that's been fouled. He just doesn't seem to get any joy for refs, and I don't know if it's that physique, that he looks a little bit awkward sometimes when he's going up for things or whatever. But referees didn't seem to like to give any decisions.
Do Do you think that Doidge maybe suffers a wee bit for the same thing that Colin Nish suffered from? Like Colin Nish spent, Colin Nish spent an awful lot of time on his arse because he seemed to just get bundled off the ball. But I don't remember him getting much.
Yeah, you're spot on. Nish never got anything for referees. It was horrendous sometimes. It used to. I always get wound up at referees anyway, right? At the best of times. But the two things that used to annoy me about Colin Nish were that it was always offside and the referees never gave him any free kicks. That was it. The rest of Colin Nish, the problem, I liked them.
Aye.
But
like, I wonder what that is. Like, I wonder if you need to be that. Like, how hard does a player like Christian Doidge or Colin Nish need to be hit before a referee starts going, actually, that was a foul?
You don't have to do the screaming, you know that, Fanny. But you look at Morelos. You know how Morelos got the free kick where Porteous got booked.
Aye.
I can't remember if they got a free kick for that or not. But if you look at it, Porteous hasn't really done that much. You know, he's running into him. There's a wee bit of body check. But Morelos made sure the referee saw it, kind of screaming and everything. And because there's no crowd noise or anything, you hear it all.
Drew attention to it.
Aye, look at you, lassie. You're just like, what are you? If you can say that these days, right? But that's what he sounded like. And you think that's a grown up that's doing that. A grown up man screaming like that. I've never heard Doidge doing it.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's never gone doing like that where he's kind of made it obvious that he's been fouled. He'll contest things and he gets knocked about, and he knocks folk about as well.
Do you think Morelos was getting his hair cut at the exact time that Nicola Sturgeon announced new restrictions?
Aye. Your dress is shut, you have to leave.
The barber just drew the shutters did.
Sorry, we'll finish this later. Ridiculous.
Aye. Only real negative from Saturday was Lewis Stevenson got injured.
So I didn't find this out until afterwards, and I was having a wee browse of Hibs.net, and it said that I'd seen suggestion that he'd maybe left Rugby Park in a moon boot. I actually thought at the time, because I never saw it.
The bus.
What?
I think he went in the bus.
At the time, I thought it was maybe a wee tactical masterstroke for Jack Ross. I thought Chris Burke was getting a bit of joy down that right-hand side, and I thought maybe he's going to try and put a bit more of an attacking player there to give Chris Burke a wee bit more to think about defensively. And then that just turns out to be absolute shite because Stevenson's got a wee... Was it an ankle injury?
I think so. I think it was his ankle that is hurt. So I think he's a big doubt for Saturday, which is a shame. Although I think Hartsbinger on that side got injured on what night did they play? Friday night.
Friday, yeah.
Aye, he went off early. He looked decent against Dundee when I watched the Hearts Dundee game. I thought he was probably their most potent threat going forward, and I thought I would have played Stevenson against them. If I had to just using Stevenson's experience rather than relying on Dougie Tripod. However, if he's injured, then there's no qualms with starting with Dougie.
Well, I think that's probably the benefit of having the experience of Stevenson and the, let's call it, inexperience Dougie Tripod there. That you, by giving Tripod the game time that we've given him and having Stevenson come back in for other games, it's kind of that seamless transition, isn't it?
Aye.
If one of them was to be injured, or if one of them was to have that wee dip in form, get the other guy back in again.
Aye, it's good. So I have no problems from starting. Which probably takes us on to the derby then on Saturday. So Scottish Cup semi-final. Hibs v Hearts or Hearts v Hibs. I'm not sure who's technically the home team for it. How are we feeling about this one?
Is this the 2019-2020 Scottish Cup? Like,
Yeah,
I know that's a daft
season's.
question, but will it be competed for the final in 2021?
No, it's before Christmas, I think.
Is it before Christmas?
Aye.
Jesus, I didn't know that.
Oh, baby Jesus.
I was saying to a boy the day, Jambo at work, that it's such an odd derby. Sorry, it might have even been you guys. Maybe I just repeat myself. It's such an odd derby to get prepared for because we're in different leagues, and the competition should have been done already back in, the final should have been back in May. Yet here we are still competing for a competition that's 6 months out of date.
Aye, we're just glad that anybody's cup tied for it. Like they changed the rule, so obviously we can if they hadn't changed the rule, it'd be quite difficult to put a team out because we wouldn't be able to play like Nisbet and Gogic and all these players that came in. They would have been cup tied. So Hearts would have been in the same position, I suppose. That they, or maybe no. Like how many cup games did they get last season? Did they go far in anything? Who knows?
Probably not. No.
No idea.
Brian, how are you feeling about it?
Fine. No nerves. Nothing. Zero. I've not seen him. My cup is brimming over with confidence, but I've got no nerves at all. I think if the Hibs team turn up on Saturday, we will win the game. Quite simply. I think lessons will have been learned for the defeat for them at Easter Road last season, where I think we took them too lightly, basically, and we got played off the park. I think the players would have been itching to get that Scottish Cup game to come as quick as it could, so they could exact revenge. So no nerves. I think having Gogic in the middle will be a big player for us. And John's right. Maybe it maybe is because we're not going to the game because we've had so long to prepare for it and wait for it. Maybe that's contributed to me not having any nerves. I don't know, but it's game on. I'm looking forward to it. No nerves.
I wish I had any nerves for that. I can't help it. Already, from what we're on Tuesday, so pretty much since the game finished on Saturday, and there was nothing else to kind of be in the way of the derby. I've been thinking about it and getting nervous about it. I just can't help it. I just get like a big bear, get wound up. Remember when you were wee and you'd go to the football and you'd have butterflies in your stomach all the way through the game, or you'll just be in the build up to the game worried about what was going to happen or being excited about it. I still get that feeling for the derbies. Still have it.
I normally do, I must admit, but it feels different this time. Whether that's the circumstances of what's going on in the world or whether I am just quietly confident, I don't know.
Do you think we could get a press pass for it? To say we're covering it?
Could do.
I'm going to take a note of that. How do we do that? That'd be a good way
a
to
live stream.
A live stream fit.
Every 5 minutes, I'll just shout out £5.
50p, big donation. It's a funny one, John, isn't it? We're not being able to go to the game. So, what's your routine on Saturday going to be?
My routine on Saturday is I'm going to weigh myself first of all because I've been on that wee curvy Nisbet, Captain America Nisbet transition. I've got a wee round of golf booked at 10 to 2, so I don't think I'm going to get the full 8
holes.
Was that?
Like 4 holes?
Nah, we should probably get about 9 or 10 in, and then back, and then I'm thinking pint cans of Tennent's, cans of Best, food. Just gonna enjoy the game. I'm saying enjoy the game. I'm pretty relaxed right now. I'm not thinking. I'm not arrogantly confident, if that makes sense. I'm not thinking that we're definitely going to win the game, but I'm certainly relaxed about our prospects of making the final, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And
give us your reasons for that, John.
I know nothing, and I care nothing for Hearts. And if Hibs play the way that they did on Saturday, then I've got no fear that we're going to lose. I feel confident that we have the team capable of progressing in the competition if we play the way that we did on Saturday.
It's a really funny thing. So for me, I tried to see if it wasn't Hearts we were playing. If you take away the name Hearts, right, and say it was, let's say Dundee or Dunfermline, championship team, decent level. Dundee probably spend a bit more than Dunfermline, so I'll use them and just forget the fact that they're shite. But you'd be saying, well, we've spent money on a squad, bringing in really good players. So no just our kind of bargain basement. Who can we get from League One or the Championship in England? We've gone out and taken players for other Premiership teams in Scotland, as well as having a kind of decent base of players that were already there. So we've spent money on the squad and invested in it. We've been playing since August at that level. So it's no like, do you know when we go into Europe and the Scottish teams start early and we get horsed and everybody goes, aye, but that Swedish league's been playing for 11 weeks. Well, that's us.
Yeah.
You know, we've got all these games under our belt at that level. We're well into our season. Hearts started at the start of October. You've got that advantage. We are competing easily or comfortably with everybody we've played so far. So there's nobody's run over the top as yet in a game. So Motherwell gave us probably our toughest game. Motherwell and Celtic, I would say. Celtic, you would expect it, but we were never. I thought against Celtic, certainly in the first half, we were never out of the game. Second half was we struggled a wee bit more. But Rangers, who are by far and away, in my opinion, the best team in the league at the moment, we competed with them. They bother. You know, got the draw, and we were well worth the draw. It wasn't like we fluked it, and you know Rangers missed a load of chances. We were worth that point. So we've got to Killie are a better team than Hearts. I would say at the moment, the way that they play, how they're performing, they're a better team than Hearts. We've just beat them. Aberdeen, they beat us by a penalty, but we coped in that game. You know, I think if we'd had Gogic fit and Nisbet fit for that game, as they will be on Saturday, we would have won it.
Mm-hmm.
Dundee United is the other benchmark, I suppose. Dundee United were running away with the Championship last season. We knocked them out of the cup. They came to, so fair enough, it went to the replay, but it was a joke they went to the replay. They scored with 3 shots or something in the one shot in the first game. Was it 1-1 the first game? I can't remember.
2-0, I think.
2-0.
2-0.
2-0. You think we did a podcast? So I'm talking about it. But when we played them in the replay, we were comfortably the better team. Comfortably. And that was a Dundee United team who were widely tipped to be Premiership standard, just in the wrong division. And we were much better than them. And I think that's going to be the case. I think we are much better than Hearts at the minute. It's an unusual position to be in because I can't really mind too many times where we've gone into a game of this magnitude against them thinking, actually, everything is stacked in our favour. Everything.
I think something to consider as well is that as much as you were saying, if you were to take the name out of it, if you leave the name in, it's there's no fans, there's none of that, there's none of the pressure for the stands, there's none of the moans and groans, there's just none of that. It's just it's probably as close to pure football as you're ever likely to get
in a derby.
In a derby.
Aye.
It's just the two teams. It's just the Hibs team that turns up, and it's the Hearts team that turns up. It's none of the other. It's none of the. It's not about but which Hibs team is going to turn up? Like you say, we've done well this season. We have competed, and we are competing at the top end of the league. I think that's perhaps maybe another reason why I'm pretty relaxed about it. It's none of the usual. It's got none of the usual hallmarks of a derby other than the two names.
Aye, it's all going to go wrong, isn't it?
No. So that's the attitude I'm talking about.
No, I'm only joking. I'm only kidding. That's it. You're right, though, John. There's no reason for it, and it kind of gets into our it's experiences in our psyches. Almost that you sort of expect the worst to happen, but this Hibs team now, we're playing consistently well. It's not like we're really shite one week and then all right the next week. We hit a level of performance where we are comfortable in games. We control games the way that we want to control them, and there's always bits in games where the other team get on top, and you accept that. But I think pretty much you look at. I would imagine Marciano's probably had amongst the fewest amounts of saves to make out any keeper in the league. If you look at those kind of stats and things like that we are not conceding loads of chances, we're not conceding loads of goals, and we're creating a lot at the other end. Maybe not scoring all the chances that we're getting at the moment, which is maybe a bit of a concern, but that'll come. I'm excited for it. Like now talking about it, I just want it to be Saturday. Just please, just get to Saturday now. Hurry up.
What's your derby preparation, Matty? What are you going to do? What are you going to do between now and then to just keep yourself in the game, calm, and keep your powder dry?
I don't know. I probably got a lot of heroin. No. Saturday morning, Josh, I think, is refereeing in Glenroth this or outside Cowdenbeath or somewhere. So I need to take him to that game and wait for him to do that, and then we'll come back in time for getting ready for the kick-off. I might get a few cans in and don't need to be anywhere on Saturday evening, so that might just be I sit with a few tins and watch the game and hopefully have something to celebrate after it. What about you, Brian?
An absolute prince amongst men on Hibs.net earlier this evening advised me that the West Wing is available on all four, the channel all four, and it's all 7 series. And he told me this earlier tonight, and I think I've just started my 3rd episode, so I think I will probably spend Saturday watching the West Wing because it is far and away, without a shadow of a doubt, the greatest TV series of all time. So I'll probably watch that right up until about 10 to 5, and then after that it'll just be a wild haze of cans, drugs, cigarettes and hookers.
I thought you would have done something different for it, to be fair, but anybody want to have a go at a prediction?
I'm going to say 2-0 Hibs.
Oh, you fucker. I was thinking 2-0 Hibs as well.
I think we're going to go for a big score against them. I would just feel a big score. So upwards of 3. And I tell you what, we're due them one at Hampden, especially. Like, we need to. I was having this conversation on Hibs. If the unthinkable happened and we got beat, given the circumstances, for me it'd be more embarrassing than the previous 2. I don't know how you feel. Your thoughts on that? It kind of provoked a wee bit of argument. Some people thought you couldn't possibly get worse than the 5-1, but I think the circumstances around 5-1 were totally different. I would be far more gutted to lose this one.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm trying to think a positive spin to what you're saying, Matty.
I actually feel quite bad for Hearts fans because they do go on about 5-1, and I'll be honest with you, it doesn't affect me in the slightest. It genuinely doesn't. I'm not just saying that as bravado or anything else. That result does not haunt me in any way, shape or form. And even any slight bad feeling or regret or anger I had towards it, if I did have any, 2016 just blew that away anyway. It doesn't. They think I'm lying when I say to them it means fuck all to me. It doesn't mean anything. To them, it obviously means a great deal, and that's great, and they can have it. But they need to start taking that comfort blanket off now. It's been 8 years.
I think that's probably one of the factors that we haven't mentioned about Saturday as well. That is this the first time that we've met them at Hampden since we won it?
Yeah.
So
those
first time we met them at Hampden since they won it.
So you had the previous 2 games that you mentioned where we had the hoodoo, capital T, capital H. And since then, that's all changed. 2016 changed all that. Like, all of the pressure is off. We don't have, even if the fans were there, we wouldn't have had that added pressure that came with it.
That's a great shout by John. 100% agree with you. And to be fair, I hadn't even considered that angle on it.
So even if the worst was to happen and they somehow get a victory, I couldn't give a fuck. Genuinely couldn't give a fuck. And I think that possibly, I think that's something that we need to as a support, is to have that running through our veins, if you like, just to be. I couldn't give a fuck about the defeat and allow us to go and concentrate on getting the victory.
Yeah. Whatever happens, it happened.
I'd love to go along with that. I can't see me not giving a fuck. If they beat us, I will be gutted.
Oh no, I didn't get me wrong.
My weekend.
I wouldn't be happy to be defeated, but it's not the be-all and end-all. If we were to lose last season's Scottish Cup semi-final, we have other things to concentrate on in the league, which is far greater when you take into account what Brian just said. Whatever happens, it happened.
Yeah.
And if it goes to plan and we go through, how do you rate our chances of winning it? Celtic or Aberdeen in the final? Then we'll obviously get ahead of ourselves, but we're not playing the game, so it doesn't matter if we do it.
If we get through,
we'll get cuffed.
If we get through, then Celtic are no great shakes at the moment. And when you look at their last two results, you're kind of thinking, I'd fancy having a go at them. And Aberdeen, we're due a result against them as well.
Again, another one where we're due to get a win against them in a big game.
Yep.
Aye.
Even the last game against them at Hampden, like we were a kick in the arse off beating them. I think they would get caught out early doors. We managed to get back to 2-2, and then it was a wicked deflection.
Aye.
That won it for them. So I know if we get through, I've got nothing to fear off either of them.
And wouldn't it be typical to win it the second time? Well, in our lifetimes anyway, when the fans there, we're not allowed to get in to watch it. How are we going to invade the pitch? We'd have to kind of camp outside and then just force entry.
It'd be ironic if the players finally got to manage to do a lap of honour with nobody there.
I was saying this to mates earlier. Can you imagine a nightmare scenario where 2016 didn't happen and this was the year, this was the competition at the end of the hoodoo and there was nobody at Hampden to see it? That would be worse than any semi-final defeat against them.
Aye.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one of the Hibs for that one. And speaking of Hampden wins, today is the 29th anniversary of us winning the Skol Cup in 1991. Brian, we were talking on WhatsApp before we came on about being at the game. What's your memories of it?
I remember had a double-decker bus, a Lothian bus, a maroon bus, no less, booked to take us from where I grew up, Cornhill Terrace in Leith. So, and it felt, I think that bus was pretty much just people in our street. I can remember the trip going through there. The game, it was the old Hampden, wasn't it? And I would have been 9, 10-year-old. I saw the first goal. My dad had actually lifted me up for the first goal because it was a penalty. So it was obviously you knew there was a chance. As for Keith Wright's, I don't think I saw it because I was obviously so wee, surrounded by giants. I can't remember the bus journey home, as far as I'm aware. I can't recall that, but I do remember basically dancing in the streets, the Bottom Easter Road, like outside the Persevere, etc., and just late into the night, just hearing singing Hibs songs, different streets, different people. It was brilliant. Brilliant. Loved it. What a day.
Aye. I just remember how busy it was. I think that was my first experience of like a really massive crowd. There was something like 35,000 Hibs fans in there. Standing room only. There's fans locked out. It was cold as well. Like one of these kind of cold late October days. I probably didn't have the best view of the game. So I was 13, quite a tall 13-year-old, but no taller than the men that were around about us. And then I might go back after the game for the parade. You know, the team coming back to Easter Road. What I really remember is like the blue lights hitting before the bus came. You saw the blue lights flashing down the street.
Yeah.
So you kept the bus was on its way with the players. It was magic, just like a great atmosphere.
I can't mind if I was in Easter Road or not. How strange is that? I can actually remember eating a sandwich on the bus on the way to Hampden, but I cannot remember if I was actually inside Easter Road Stadium at night.
Well, I'm sure. I think we went up to the old North Stand, where the West Stand is now, but the famous Five End. There used to be like the North Stand, and my aunt and uncle. I used to go to the games with my auntie. Their season tickets were at the row C, in that part of the stand, and I'm pretty sure we ended up just pretty much at our actual seats for the coming back. Although I might be wrong, but that's how I remember it. I just remember it was like a magic night, and obviously you know what had gone before with Mercer trying to kill the club and all the rest of it. It was just like a really special evening, really special.
What a team!
It was. We were on holiday, like a lads' holiday in 1996 or something. I think I was. When Euro '96, say that was when the Euros were in England. Is that right?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
That year, we were in Magaluf, and I'm sure it was a couple of guys much older than us, Dunfermline fans, were in the apartment below us, and they used to give us a bit of stick for how we ruined their dream and all the rest of it. They chucked us in the pool one night. We come home absolutely buckled. In fact, that was after the Scotland England game. We had we'd watched. I can't remember if I've told this story before. Me and the group of pals that I was with, I'm sure we got split up. So some of us were in one pub and some of us were in another one. And we were watching it, and there was this big fat English guy, a Cockney, who looked like Pavarotti at the bar with us. And so obviously we were having banter with this boy, kind of giving him a bit of nonsense. He was giving us a bit of nonsense all the way through the game. England obviously won. We were like, fair enough. We'll carry on drinking. So we had a few more drinks, and then we went down to the beach. And this guy's fucking steaming. Like, he was big, massive, tall guy, just like fat as anything. And he's away out into the sea. And what I remember is his missus comes bolting at the pub. And I can't remember his name. She was screaming his name. She's like, your heart, get out the sea, your heart. And she went wading into the sea, and he's telling her to fuck off and everything. They want to come out the sea, and she's pulling him out. And that was pretty much the end of our adventures with Pavarotti. We were walking away, going, do you know, Pavarotti, have a nice night in that, mate. And then we go back to the hotel, and the boys from Dunfermline just gives a wee nudge into the pool. So we're heading back. So that was nice for him. Don't know why I got started on that one, but Dunfermline, and that's where I live now. So if I ever see them, I'll get revenge. Right, I think that's almost us. A couple of things to mention. We're doing Movember along with Down the Slope and Hibs Talk, the other two Hibs podcasts. So kudos to Down the Slope. They took the lead on this one and got in touch and said we just do it. So I'll represent our podcast for it. I can't grow a moustache, so I'm going to shave it on Sunday, clean shaven, and then just leave it for a month, and you'll not notice any difference.
You say that you can't grow a mustache, but I'm looking at you now, and you have facial hair. Like, you look like you've got a goatee.
Aye, but it's shite. Like, it's all patchy and everything. Like, it's not like a proper one. Like, I wouldn't have been Hitler. Do you know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean you wouldn't have been Hitler?
Well,
like...
yeah, he's famous for his wee moustache, wasn't he? Like,
of
I
all
couldn't
the
do that.
people in the world that have had a moustache, you referenced Adolf Hitler.
Magnum. I couldn't have been Magnum either then.
Yeah, you have got a moustache and a goatee there.
This is how bad.
In the hair,
like,
you're like,
goatee, there's hair on the side as well. Like, that's how shit the beard is. This is when you're working from home and you don't have to face anybody. You can just you stop caring. But I'm just going to let it go anyway.
Between the goatee and the hair, it's like looking at George Clooney through a fairground mirror.
With Vaseline in your eyes. So I'm taking a hit for the team. No, I'll not ask you to do it. But I think Hibs Talk are doing it as well. Gav's got like a big full beard. I think he's shaving that off and is going to grow a moustache in over the course of November. So we'll share the link, and if anybody wants to donate, it's a very good cause. We would appreciate it. And the last thing is we will have this week, as well as Short Bangers, we're also launching our new podcast, as yet unnamed, but I think we had maybe settled on Bangers. I don't know. We might come up with a different one. So watch out for that. And if anybody's got any topics that you think we should be discussing, then please send them in to us at the usual Twitter or at longbangers@gmail.com. Right, that's us, John. Thanks for your time this evening. Brian, thanks for your time this evening. And thanks everybody for listening. And we will see you on Thursday. Cheerio.
The whiskey's gone, I'm so apart. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.